Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we've got another mock draft video for you guys. We are now talking the 102 for a Dynasty startup. Now with this, of course, is a super flex full PPR, so that will play a factor in how you draft these players. If it's one quarterback, a totally different way of how you're going to draft any player in this draft because the quarterback position has changed a little bit. Now, if you guys haven't already, check out our other mock draft videos. We'll be dropping one every single Monday to help you guys out. For anybody who is interested in joining or starting a Dynasty startup, this is a way to kind of give you some insight where players are going. Now, of course, we're not talking trades. This is going to be very simple, just straight from the point. Obviously, in a real draft, you're probably doing lots of trades and movement to get you guys there. Obviously, rookies and things like that. Of course, a reminder, there are no rookies in this startup mock-off draft because rookie drafts tend to be after a startup draft. You could be a league that does obviously a mix, which is great for you. But with the NFL draft not actually happening yet, a lot of people tend to do just a startup with a rookie after that. So I use Sleeper, so we're going to jump right into this one. So as you guys can see here, I'm at the 102 spot right now. So we are going to draft from there. And again, it is a snake type of draft. If you guys aren't familiar, going back and forth to help you guys get those draft picks. Reminder, I'm using Sleeper. Some people love to use Yahoo in different formats. Sleeper just tends to be my favorite when it comes to Dynasty, and I like their mock draft platform. So again, if you guys are doing mock drafts, this is a great way to go. So we're going to start this off. Now, 101, Josh Allen. I took him in my last mock draft for the 101, and I still would take him as my 101. I know with the news of Stephon Diggs gone, that may change somebody's mindset. But for me, I still think Josh Allen's ability to run, his goal line presence, and I do expect the Buffalo Bills to grab a receiver. His value is still very high. Obviously, losing Diggs is definitely going to hurt and obviously helps Stroud. So again, I wouldn't be surprised if people start to see Stroud in the top 3. I'm still not going to go take Stroud at the number 102. I'm going to end up taking Jalen Hurts. I think his rushing ability, I know that sounds crazy because my last ranking quarterback draft, I had obviously Mahomes ahead of him, but I'm going to take that rushing ability just a little bit more. So I put him an edge above Mahomes. Now, obviously, this is a mock draft for the computer. Stroud may not quite be up there, but at this spot with the quarterback 6, I have him a little bit higher in my rankings, but I do think that's not a bad spot for him. Now, with this, you see Laporta here, which I think is a little crazy, not being a tight end premium league that Laporta goes in the second round. I think he's going to be more around this area, but there's nothing wrong with grabbing Laporta because he is a top tier tight end. He's definitely the number 1 tight end when it comes to rankings in Dynasty, but I wouldn't quite take him there. For me, when it comes to Superflex and mock drafts, I'm going to absolutely go and grab 2 quarterbacks in the first 2 rounds. You have to grab your studs there. So I've got players like Jordan Love, Kyler Murray, Justin Fields, Dak. For me, I'm going to go Kyler Murray here. I want my rushing quarterbacks. I think their ability to run, grab some touchdowns on the ground is by far the biggest advantage you're going to have. So for me, Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts are some 2 great starting quarterbacks for this team. Now, the next, I can grab a 3rd quarterback and really kind of hurt my league mates, and that's a strategy you can absolutely go with. Grabbing another quarterback early in the rounds gives you the ability to have top tier, but with this rookie class being pretty strong when it comes to the quarterback class, you could also think about drafting a quarterback in the rookie draft and then grabbing another star elite player here. So looking at it, there's a lot of great players here. I can obviously go running back. You got ETN, Kyron Williams, who was amazing, Achane, or you go wide receiver route because wide receivers are such a strong one. But for this case, because this wide receiver rookie class is so strong, I'm actually going to go running back, and I'm going to go Kyron Williams. I think Kyron Williams is going to be an advantage. His ability of what he did last year for Los Angeles came out of nowhere. I'm giving him slight edge when it comes to him over like ETN or Achane or something like that. So I like grabbing Kyron Williams right here, pairing up with Jalen Hurts and Kyler Murray. So as you can see, the running backs are starting to take form. Obviously, wide receivers are taking form. That's very popular. This right here, again, tight ends, maybe a little bit early for me. I'm thinking more the 5th and 6th round, but again, Hawkinson, Andrews, McBride, nothing wrong with that. If this is a tight end premium, you're obviously going a different route. You're taking a lot of those guys before even some of your receivers. But in this case, I'm going to go, and again, nothing wrong with that. Now, the next spot, obviously, I've got my 2 quarterbacks. I've got a running back. I could go another running back here, or I could go wide receiver. Again, the wide receiver class is really strong, but because I'm close to that swing around, I can grab a player that I really want here. Now, between these players, you've got Tank Dell. Higgins, Rashee Rice, Zay Flowers. Of those, I'm probably going to lean more into the Zay Flowers aspect. I like Zay Flowers because he is the wide receiver 1 for the Baltimore Ravens. The other players are technically 1, maybe 2, depending on how you want to rank them. But for me, I'm going to go with Zay Flowers. I think he's in a good spot there. Now, I am going to get another running back because running backs are so hard, especially in this rookie class. They are not strong at all. You might find 1 or 2 that might actually end up being some really good running backs in the future in the NFL, but I'm not quite sold on them yet. I've been looking at films. I'm still not completely done with them, but I would rather grab my running back that is established in the NFL and obviously have some play. For me, I'm actually going to go and grab James Cook. I like Rachaad White. I think he's going to be really good. I'm going James Cook because this offense has changed. When their offensive coordinator changed for the Buffalo Bills, James Cook took off and they became more of a running game. Like, this offense is going to go through James Cook. And I think with obviously the lack of receivers or a potentially good, very good rookie wide receiver, I think they're going to obviously use James Cook a lot more. So I like him there. Now I'm going to fill out my third quarterback. Seeing that Bryce Young is here, I know I can get a quarterback in the rookie draft, but typically when you're doing a startup, you're at the 102, you're probably going to be the 110, 111 area when it comes to your draft. So for me, you're not going to get a good quarterback that late. You might get maybe a Penix or something like that, but I'm going to go Bryce Young here to grab my third quarterback to fill out my depth. And again, a young quarterback that I think has a bright future. I know he didn't do well last year, but I think has a really bright future. Now, I could obviously go and fill out my receivers, my running backs, things like that. I'm actually going to go out and grab a tight end. I like David Njoku here. I think he had a great season last year. I think it's only going to get better, and hopefully Deshaun Watson becomes more of the old Deshaun Watson that, again, can be consistent, hopefully healthy. But even with that said, Njoku still did really well last season, even with Watson not there. And I like him. I think his youth and his ability has always been there. And for me, I'll take him a little bit over Kittle. So I've got my tight end, I've got my 2 starting running backs, I got only 1 wide receiver here, and I got 3 quarterbacks. So obviously I've got to start filling out my depth or wide receiver room. When I'm looking at wide receivers here, I'm going to go and grab Deontay Johnson and pair him up with my boy Bryce Young, because Deontay Johnson, I think, is going to be force-fed plenty of targets in this offense. So I think that's a really good move. Now, the other wide receiver I'm going to take, I know some people might take Marquise Brown, especially with the Rashee Rice news, or maybe go with Keenan Allen if you're trying to win now, which Keenan Allen is amazing, and you could pair him up with, maybe if you're later in the draft, you could pair him up with Caleb Williams. I'm actually going to go Quentin Johnston. I have not quite given up on him yet. Now, I was not sold on him last season. Don't get me wrong. I was not sold on him. But the fact is, some wide receivers take a little bit more time going into the NFL and transitioning. And that's okay. Maybe that's what's going on with Quentin Johnston. I'm taking the risk right here with Quentin Johnston because right now he is the wide receiver 1. Do I expect the Chargers to draft a wide receiver? Absolutely. But I think him there that late, kind of a flex player, I'm okay with taking him there. Now, looking at this, what I do like is you're still getting some good quarterbacks late in the draft. So if you do need that third quarterback, or if you're like the first team who hasn't even grabbed a quarterback, then this is a good area to grab some of these players. So again, look at how your draft, look at how your league mates are drafting. A lot of these teams, if you're looking here, have at least 2 quarterbacks. Team 1 is the only one that only has 1, which is interesting. And they actually did a really smart job of just grabbing their weapons on the outside. But for me, I don't need another quarterback, so I'm obviously going to skip those guys. You can get the veteran players here, right? You got Jacoby Myers, who did a great job for the Raiders. Maybe a DeAndre Hopkins, who still did a great job for the Tennessee Titans. I'm actually going to grab Kendra Miller. I know that sounds crazy because he's not the expected starting running back because Alvin Kamara is still there. But I'm going to take the risk of putting him on my depth because I do believe in him. I thought he was really good coming out of college, and I think he has the ability to possibly get some more touches and opportunities in this one. So you saw obviously Ferguson go. They're still taking their time trying to figure that out of what their next picks are going to be. And for me, you could also grab Zamir White. I saw him down here, or Chuba Hubbard, and those might be some players I might end up grabbing because I think with their possibilities of being some starters on this team, on their respective teams, I think is going to be there. So we'll see what these guys draft here when it comes to the 10, 12, and 11 of 1. For me, I'm actually going to I think they're probably going to go quarterback. They've got to, just because of the way this team is drafted so far. So I would not be surprised if they go quarterback here, grabbing like a Geno, maybe a Russell Wilson. Again, the way this team is built so far for mine, I've got my 3 quarterbacks. Now I've got to fill out depth. When I'm looking at the positions I've got, I really like my wide receiver class, even though it's not as dominant as you would hope. I still think Deontay and Zay are going to be some solid wide receivers that can end up finishing probably top 15 each, respectively. And Quentin Johnston, if he really does show up, which I do expect him to, I do think he's going to have the ability to become a top 20 wide receiver. I wouldn't say top 10 at all. I think top 20 is a high potential. I think he's going to be more realistically in the 20 to 30 range when it comes to the way this play, the play is going to be. I think the biggest concern for the Los Angeles Chargers is how is Harbaugh going to run this offense and run this team, because realistically he's inherited Justin Herbert. I'm not sure if he's completely sold on him. I do expect him to obviously give him a chance. I have not been completely sold on Herbert. I think he's a very talented quarterback, but I'm not sure if he's going to be the guy that I think everyone has hoped for, right? I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm not quite sure, but we'll see how that plays out. Jacoby Myers, obviously in this pick, I think Jacoby Myers was a great pickup here for my team. I think with the wide receiver depth I have, I still think Jacoby Myers has a lot of value for the Raiders, and he did a great job opposite of Devontae Adams. I actually think Gardner Minshew is going to be the quarterback for the Raiders. I don't think it's going to be O'Connell. I think they want it to be. I'm not quite sure if it's going to be him. So we'll see. I like Jacoby Myers here. Now looking at the rest of this, as far as players go, I'm going to grab Keaton Mitchell, the nice little backup to Derrick Henry, because I think his ability is going to still shine. I think he's still going to have some value, even with Derrick Henry. You saw it with Tajay Spears. I think the Ravens are going to play it smart. They're going to obviously give Henry the ball a lot, but I think he's going to be utilized a lot less at the beginning of the season and utilized more towards the end of the season to actually take advantage of his big body and, again, running through defenses. So Keaton Mitchell, I think, is still going to have a lot of value, so I like that pick there. I've got 4 more spots here to pick up. Looking at these, I'm going to end up going probably a backup tight end here. I can go through Tucker Kraft, Otten. I actually like Otten here for the Tampa Bay Bucks. I think his value is really good, especially in this late in the draft, because I do think he can actually have a better season. He showed signs last season. He didn't quite have the rapport with Baker Mayfield, but I still think he's going to have some value going forward. Now, looking at that, there's not a lot of amazing talent when it comes to your fantasy aspect. I think there's still some great players in here, but as far as talent goes, you're like, well, I'm not really sure if they're going to add value. I'm actually going to end up taking Gus Edwards because, again, as of right now, the Los Angeles Chargers, Gus Edwards is the running back 1. So if he ends up not being it, he's a good solid backup to whoever they end up drafting, which I do expect them to draft. But I think Gus Edwards is a great pickup there. I'm actually going to be grabbing Brandon Cooks. He did a great job last season with the Dallas Cowboys. He showed signs. He does have some inconsistencies, but man, when he showed up, he showed up. So I like him as a nice little flex. Maybe a bye week, injury fill, whatever it might be. So I think that's a good move for me. Now, last pick. Looking at what's out there, I'm probably going to go, I don't know if I'm going to go wide receiver or running back. I could grab another quarterback. If this is a real draft, I'm actually going to be grabbing another quarterback, and I would probably grab Derek Carr just because he's a little bit younger. I think he could be a nice trade bait as well. Or again, what if one season my 2 quarterbacks happen to be on a bye and I need to fill out and I've got 4? So that's not a bad move at all. So that is my mock draft at the 102 position. Again, let me know in the comments if you guys agreed. Maybe you would have grabbed somebody differently, or if you have any questions with your own mock drafts. And of course, if there's any Dynasty questions at all, again, hit me up in the comments down below. Make sure you follow me on X as well. Again, that's what we're here for, to help you guys out. Again, also, if you guys are into write any articles or anything like that, I do write for IDP Plus, so go check those articles out as well. I've been putting a lot of great content for them as well for the whole off season. Make sure you guys are subscribed, hit that like button, and I'll check you guys out next time.